everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm Melissa Coakley. I'm a corporate instructional designer and learning strategist, and I've been a member of TLDC since I transitioned into corporate learning from higher education years ago now. It feels like not that long ago, but it's been a while. TLDC has always been a great resource for me, so I'm excited to be moderating this session. We will be joined by Margie Meacham, who is having a few technical difficulties, but I'm sure she'll be back with us any minute now. She's doing a session on leading through disruption, how women in L&D can leverage AI as a career enhancer. So while we're giving Margie time to rejoin the session, I'll tell you a little bit about her. So Margie is the founder of Learning to Go AI Academy, and she can show you how to harness AI as a career advantage rather than viewing it as a threat. Her work has been recognized by Brandon Hall, Tech and Learning, the US Army, and many other organizations. Through her Learning to Go AI Academy, she helps learning professionals integrate AI to enhance productivity while elevating their strategic value. Margie will share her personal journey from student teacher to international AI expert as she shares a career action plan for learning professionals who want to excel in the age of AI. Hi, Margie.
Hi, Melissa. Thank you so much. And thank you, everybody, for waiting while I got my technology up. It's always a little ironic for me to be presenting about such a complex technology as AI and then, having to get my camera and my microphone working. But
that happens to everyone. So
yeah.
I'll be keeping an eye in the chat and I'm going to give the floor to you. Thank you.
Hey, so thank you all for joining us today, and I'm really excited to be here. Melissa's going to help me keep an eye on the chat, and I certainly hope that you all join in, and I'll tell you a little bit about what we're going to do. So a lot of people know me. I hope I'm a member of TLDC, have been from the early days when it first got founded. Well, I want to thank absolutely everybody involved in TLDC for always bringing relevant content and compelling information to the learning profession. And I'm really excited about today because it's a subject very close to my heart. I'm going to share some statistics, and then we're going to talk about action plans. And I'm just a little bit curious about how many folks who are here today live, and if you're listening to the recording, go ahead and think about how you would answer, are looking for a job or thinking about looking for a new job soon. And if you could kind of just say, yes, I am, or a thumbs up or something in the chat. And Melissa, why don't you tell me? I'll tell you what, Melissa, I got disconnected when I flipped to the chat last time, so I'm going to stay right where I am and ask you to take a look at anything going on in the chat. What do you think? Are we seeing a lot of people who are in the job market now or think they might be soon?
Yep, yeah, Carol Ann is. And then I replied, I'm self-employed, so I'm constantly looking for the next job, the next project, the next big thing.
Oh yeah, as consultants, I hear you. That's number one every single day. So, and it's been interesting lately. There's been a lot of uncertainty in the job market, which includes contracting, consulting, any sort of work right now. So, time for us to talk about that. I do encourage you all to connect with me on LinkedIn. I see a lot of jobs cross my inbox, and while I'm not in the market, I love to share those things.
Yeah, and more people are sharing too. Jeanette is pursuing a promotion or a new position. Dawn just got a new job, but she knows a lot of colleagues who are looking. I do too. Some people might be. There's a government contractor who knows what the future holds there. So yeah, big changes happening all over the place.
Absolutely. And the best way we're going to get through this, folks, is to stay together and work together on helping each other stay employed and find good opportunities. And I truly believe that artificial intelligence is the way forward for us as a profession and especially for women. And I'm going to tell you why. We have a huge opportunity in front of us to grab new space and make it ours. So we're going to talk about that and how we can turn all this disruption into an opportunity for us. And I'll give you some practical things you can do today. And I have a personalized action plan, a little activity that you can work through on your own. And if you want the downloadable version, I'll tell you how you can get that from me at the end of the session. So the same information I just told you, kind of as an agenda. First thing we're going to do is we're going to play a little guessing game. I'm going to show you a statistic, and you tell me what you think that statistic is telling you about. And if you can read tiny print, you'll probably figure it out. But 85%, in the context of what we're talking about, what do you think that number might represent? And Melissa, you're just going to be my partner. Go ahead, tell me what you see
Yeah,
in the chat. What
you
kind
bet.
of guesses are we getting?
My guess is that 85% of women are angry about the pay gap.
Ah, that's a
Maybe
good one. That
50%
might
don't
be
like
true also.
it much.
Yeah. Okay. And of course, it's about the gap between what women earn and men earn. And this particular statistic is globally, it's not just a
Oh wow.
US issue, it's everywhere.
Jeanette is wondering if that's if the 85% was she says not women in L&D. I think she's asking is that like the percentage of
It's not specifically women in LD. No, we have more women in L&D in general. We're disproportionately drawn to that. However, when it comes to leadership, we're only slightly better at achieving those leadership levels. So women in L&D, you can see there that in the entire workforce, men do make up more of that workforce. But look at the difference between the blue and the orange bars. For men, it's a smaller difference between them than for women, because what that's saying is that even in L&D, which is kind of a woman populated field, we make up 42% of that workforce, but only 32% of senior leaders. So there is still a significant gap. Now you might say, well, 10% difference, 15% difference on the other number, that's not too bad. You might think, hey, we're making progress. And there is a slight improvement every year. Generally, there's a general upward trend. So what do you think this number represents?
134 years. Is that is that I think I might I haven't I think I read something about this one, so I'll keep my answer to myself. And
yeah, you might be a ringer there, Melissa. You might know the answer.
If anyone else knows, has any guesses. Donna asked, is that how long it will take to reach salary parity? That was my guess as well.
That's it.
Yeah.
At the current rate of improvement, how long will it take to close that apparently, small gap? If you think 10 or 15% is relatively small, 130 years. That's because improvement is at near zero. We've been gaining like 1% a year for quite some time, just barely enough to make it statistically significant. So we're going to have to do something different. Now, here's what you have to add on top of that. We may not even get to enjoy the current dismal 1% a year improvement, because here are the trends that are happening right now. Organizations are canceling or scaling back their efforts to recruit and advance women. Career development in general, any kind of mentoring program for anyone of any gender, of any group, are all also declining. And DEI in general is being just wiped out of company websites and value statements and government programs and so on. So, and in addition, as I'm telling you to seek out AI skills and advance your career that way, gender parity is one of the lowest in that field in AI, big data, programming, and cybersecurity. So, what I'm going to tell you might seem like you're bucking a trend, but I'll tell you why I still think it's a significant opportunity. It's hiding behind all these scary statistics. It's that silver lining behind that cloud. And here's why. Take a look at what these numbers are saying. And this is from LinkedIn. I've put the sources underneath on the slides, and you could get a copy of these. 30% of all the organizations surveyed said we don't have the skills we need in our organization. But most of them, 26%, said, and the employees we have aren't even capable of learning those skills. So, what does that tell you? They're going to have to find people willing, because the skills don't exist in the workplace that much. I mean, I built my first chatbot in 2013. I've been working in AI for a long time, but I'm the exception. In most organizations, they don't have employees with that kind of skill, and they don't believe they have employees who can even learn those skills. So what are they going to do? They're going to look to people like us. They're going to look to people who are capable of learning those skills. In addition, AI is giving us many new rules, and these are just a few that I found by searching job boards. They require AI expertise and data science expertise, but they are jobs that are out there beyond trainer and instructional designer or training manager. So you may not even, if you're in a job search now or in the future, you might not even know to look for some of these roles if you don't even know they exist. And they're emerging and will continue to get more and more popular as we go forward. Here are the types of competencies that those jobs need. They need AI competencies, business competencies, and human, or what we used to call soft skills. So let's take a look at some of this. Basic AI literacy. That's one of those skills those employers don't think their current employees have. I think they're underestimating them, but it's a way in. Take a look at prompt engineering, understanding learning data and what you can do with it, particularly with AI, understanding how you integrate AI with an LMS or a learning experience platform. Those are all AI competencies. Then on the business side, they want someone who can think about project management and implementation. Excuse me just a second. Nice drink of water there. Change management, ROI. These are all things we work with every day, right? And finally, human skills. Now, here's where women have a superpower. Every one of these women test higher on in general, sorry guys, than men. Strategic thinking, teaching, mentoring, empathy, influence, communication, flexibility, and resilience. So I might ask, well, gosh, if we're already leading in those, how come those statistics aren't flipped? Well, that's a subject for another day. But can we greatly accelerate closing that gap? I believe artificial intelligence gives us a real opportunity, ladies, because nobody has those skills. Companies cannot afford, they need them desperately. They cannot afford to be picky in other considerations. If they find a woman who's qualified, they better hire her. That's my logic. Is this making sense? Tell me, Melissa, if it seems to be ringing with the audience, what I'm saying here.
I think it makes perfect sense. I love the breakdown of all of it, and it's yeah, it's giving me hope, right? If we have those basic
That's,
skills, that we
yeah.
should be extremely
Oh, great.
technical.
Well, my first goal is to give us all hope today. And my next goal is to give us an actionable plan. So let's start moving into that part of the conversation. So these are true for anyone. This is not just women, but they're particularly problems that women sometimes run into. So we need to pay more attention to this. Flexing our leadership style. Unfortunately, now I bolded the word style. Style can mean a lot of different things, but very often, particularly when the world is primarily led by men, wonderful men, we love them. I'm married to one, I love him very much, but they look for a certain style that is more common, more comfortable for a man than a woman. I'm not asking you to be someone you're not, but be ready to recognize that your your style might actually be holding you back. I don't mean how you dress, although all of that is part of it, right? I mean how you express yourself. Also, we need a network of women and men in technology, especially because most of the leaders you're networking with are men. So there you go. Let's develop some great relationships with the men we know. I know that we're all incredibly resilient, but we need to demonstrate it. We need to show it by outward actions. There's going to be a lot of craziness going on. If you haven't been hit by crazy already this year, you know it's coming. So practice and demonstrate resilience. I could do a whole session on imposter syndrome, which is that little voice that makes you hesitate and makes you think maybe I'm not technical enough. Gosh, that job sounds different than what I've done before. But when you break it down, when you look at the skills, you say, I've got those skills. Imposter syndrome holds us all back. The feeling that you're not quite good enough for whatever you aspire to or what you're doing now. So fight that, resist that. And one way to resist it is to document your success and take a look at it and say, wow, yeah, I am qualified. And seek opportunities to assert those skills now. So what I've done is I've made an action plan, and it is specific to AI, but you really could apply it to any field you want to advance in. And this is it in a nutshell, but we're going to go through it in more detail, and then I'm going to send it to anyone who wants it, so you have a fillable document that you can write out your plan and prepare for job opportunities and how you're going to post and things like that. So the first thing you have to do is be honest about where you're at right now and identify any gaps you might have. Then you can target just a couple of skills that you can add in the next 90 days, add or improve. Also find someone who can mentor or sponsor you in AI powered L&D. Now, one person you know is Margie Meacham. If I'm not saying I could be um, everything you need in terms of a mentor or sponsor, but feel free to tap me for questions and opportunities and join communities like TLDC and leverage them, lean into them. This organization is a great place to start networking. And of course, there are others in our profession as well. If you get an opportunity to volunteer for a project where AI is going to be used, absolutely do it. Even if you think, I have no idea what they're trying to do, that's how you're going to learn. And create a roadmap with milestones and focus on your development. In all of L&D, and it's not just we women, everybody in L&D spends more time worrying about how everybody else is going to get developed. And it seems like our own personal development always takes second place. We don't have time for it. We're way too busy. We can't afford to do that. So make a development plan for yourself. And this will be the start of it. So here's how I've laid it out. The first thing you're going to do is look at your current position. And if you don't have a position right now, that's your job hunter. You do have a position. What are your strengths? Maybe use that same framework in AI, in business, and in people skills. What are your strengths? Notice I didn't put weaknesses on there. That's we'll get to those, but those are things we're going to address. What we want to do is we want to focus on the the important things that we're going to bring forward to an employer. And then that areas of development, where would you like to advance? And figure out if your AI literacy is beginner, intermediate, or advanced. Um, if you've used ChatGPT, congratulations, you're already an intermediate. That is how generally low the bar is right now. So that won't stay that way. But right now, you may have more literacy than you were giving yourself credit for. Then you think about where do you want to go? It's pretty logical, right? Here are some of those jobs that I mentioned, and you might find another that you're really shooting for. Even if your target is still instructional designer, increasingly you're not going to be able to get that job because without some AI familiarity, because instructional design can be empowered and greatly streamlined by using AI tools, which is something I talk about a lot. You'll find some of my other talks on those tools. And so if I'm hiring an instructional designer and one person already knows how to make video and voiceovers and games using AI, and therefore they're far more productive and efficient, they've got a real edge over someone who doesn't have those skills and can't demonstrate them to me. So consider the role you want, and then you have to identify the skills you need for that job. And from there, we put together an action plan, set targets for 90 days, 6 months. If you want to use a different time frame, like 30 days, do it monthly. What skills are you going to develop? And how are you going to develop it? Where are you going to learn? And what steps will you take? Actual physical things or technology things you might do, and how will you know if you've succeeded? And again, this is just, you can get a copy of the slides, but I think you'll like the actual Word document. Will be easier for you to fill out for yourself. So if you want to actually get that document that these slides came from, and it gives you more room to write and to think about what you want, just let me know. Then where is your network coming from? And I will tell you honestly, I didn't always have a mentor. You know, we get this impression, people like me give talks like this and be, oh my God, if I don't get a mentor, that's, you can be your own mentor. Don't worry about that. But build, who do you know? Who do you know that you can reach out to, that you can learn from? And as I said, the people in this community, absolutely. Also, I strongly recommend you make an acquaintance. You find somebody who is dealing with similar goals and make an accountability partner. So, for example, Melissa and I might decide that, you know what, we're going to work this action plan together. And we'd fill it out together, we'd set some targets, and we'd check in once a week or once a month and see how we're doing. That's how an accountability partner helps you advance. They keep you honest, they keep you on your toes. And then you need to make a commitment. Now, the commitment is entirely personal, and I'm not going to ask you to share why are you doing this. We all have our reasons why we're working and why we're advancing, but everything has to start somewhere, and it will start with a first step. And write that down. And I'm going to ask a few brave souls right now to share their first step. And I should have asked you this, Melissa. Can we put people off mic so they can say it verbally, or should we just use the chat?
You
Depends how
know,
many people are here.
if we can put people off mic, it's beyond my capabilities. I don't know how to do it myself, sadly. I don't believe we can because it's kind of a
Okay,
webinar setup,
it's fine.
but
We
yeah, if
we're all
everyone,
good at chatting. Yeah.
yeah,
So
everyone wants to put it in the
yeah.
chat, we can do that.
So your first action step. Now, for me, it was I saw a chatbot on my bank's website, and I thought, oh my God, I could use this to deliver training. I could use this to change behavior. So my first action step was I need to understand how to build a chatbot, and that kind of side door got me into what I do today, with being an educational AI consultant. That job description did not exist till I created it. So, anybody want to share a thought with the first action step? And Melissa, if you would just tell me who's sharing some first actions.
Yeah, you bet. As soon as they will give everyone a minute to type them into the chat, and as
Think
soon as
about it. Yeah. And the first thought you get is very often the right one because your subconscious is telling you that that's where you need to start.
and when you say first action step, like thinking about the framework you just laid out or the steps that you just laid out, are you talking about whether it's identifying a skill gap or identifying your own
It could
strengths
be.
or like what part of the
Yeah.
process?
The first step is whatever you need it to be. So, for example, it might be completing this action plan. It might be uh, talking to my boss about other departments that might be using AI, or volunteering for a project that I know will help me pick up some skills. So everybody's at a different place in their development, and so you'll have to. So it could be a very simple step that you're going to take all on your own, or it could be a step that involves other people that you're going to, um, uh, you know, enlist a mentor, or maybe your first step is get an accountability buddy, and then together you figure out what our next step is.
Nice.
So I really don't want to prescribe it too much
Right.
because everybody's journey is going to be so unique. But the important thing is to find that first step.
So Lindsay just posted that she signed up for a newsletter to learn about new AI tools. And she says, I
Yeah.
usually check out their daily suggestions of tools. Next step might be looking at Coursera for intro courses.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, I would also recommend LinkedIn in addition to Coursera. If you have the opportunity, if you have the premium LinkedIn subscription, then LinkedIn Learning is all included with that. And a lot of companies make that available, and people don't necessarily know they could take full advantage. I happen to have two AI courses on LinkedIn, so I'm full disclosure, have a little vested interest in LinkedIn, but Coursera is a very good platform. So is LinkedIn. ATD has a few introductory AI courses. Training Magazine is another place where you'll find quite a few. And I have a list in the Word document version of this strategy plan that gives you a few places to get started.
Those are great suggestions. I love LinkedIn Learning too because after you do a course, you can connect with the instructor. I've done this a few times. You can
Yeah.
connect with the instructor and ask a question or give them
Yeah,
feedback.
and I can tell you,
Nice.
yeah, my students connect with me often. And I answer by email, and you know, uh, so that engagement level that you can get at LinkedIn is very nice. And there's my picture with the footsteps. I was a little slow to advance to that. So think about that. And I challenge you to go ahead and make a plan, even just a plan for one thing. I'm just going to do this one thing. Write it down, figure out when you're going to do it, check yourself, hold yourself accountable, because taking that first step often leads to the next. Like the example we shared, as soon as she thought about her first step, she already had a second step, which was to find a course on Coursera. So that's kind of how these steps work. And if you want that kit, it's Margie at learningtogo.ai. And I'll be happy to send you the whole thing. Or, with these slides, you certainly can figure out where to go from here. But what I wanted to do was make sure that we left plenty of time for questions. Let me wrap up with a couple of thoughts. Robert Greene, who, if you look him up, he writes a lot of books about how history informs the future. Very interesting writer. And he says the future belongs to those who learn more skills and combine them in creative ways. To me, this is a perfect description of how we take L&D and combine it with AI, and now we have something new. We have a new way to deliver learning and develop learning experiences. And it's also very simple, similar to my favorite quote of all time, which is intelligence is the ability to change. So I don't need to tell you about Albert Einstein. But he was once asked about his thoughts on intelligence, and he boiled it down to a very simple demonstration. Just, are you able to change? We have a new world in front of us. AI has disrupted a lot. There's no doubt our political climate has disrupted some more, and it's going to continue to change. And as those things change, our businesses, our employers, our associates are all changing with it. And so it could be a very scary time, or it could be an opportunity. I believe it's an opportunity. It's especially an opportunity for the women in L&D to become the AI experts in L&D. And I believe that we have a huge opportunity to do exactly that. So here are a few resources. You can learn some more. And I am now here to answer questions. So what kind of questions do we have coming in? I know it'll take you a minute to type it, unless, Melissa, if you've already seen them, there may be a few we can go to.
Yeah, some really nice comments are coming in. Carol Ann, to answer your earlier question, said she was joining peer-to-peer groups and attending meetups about Gen AI, which is
great. And Gen AI, just for those who might not know, so I'm glad to see people do Gen AI or generative AI, is where all we have to do is give a prompt, a little bit of text, and we get a product. It could be an image, it could be a document, a written, finished document. This slide presentation was organized with a conversation I had with Claude, who's my favorite generative AI tool. So once you get started with these things, they are really easy and fun to work with, and kind of like having an assistant. The next great thing is agentic or agent AI, and it's already really heating up. So it's kind of like we're always playing catch up, but that's certainly another one you should add to your list. We're all going to need to understand agents very, very soon. Yes. All right, next question.
Okay, Lindsay mentioned a quote that I'm excited to get your reaction to. I've heard this quote before. You won't be replaced by AI, but you will be replaced by people who can use AI. What do you think?
I'd say that is entirely true, and I often use that quote in my talks. And then I add to it, people who can use AI safely and ethically, because the technology, as is often the case, the technology was unleashed before a lot of people thought about all the ethical implications. And now we're playing catch up. And that seems to be how human beings work. You take the automobiles. All of a sudden, there were these incredible machines on the road, and no one told them what side of the road to drive on, or the speed limit, or what to do when they come to an intersection. People were just willy-nilly driving these killer vehicles around, picture Model Ts, doing crazy things. And,
it was wild.
Humans said, oh my gosh, we need rules. And that's where we're at right now with AI. We're at that same, we need rules, we need standards, and we need accountability for the people who build and use these tools. So I think this is another great opportunity for L&D professionals and women in particular, because we see those human sides. Empathy is statistically stronger in women. So why not use that? In the past, that has almost been considered a negative, like we're not as tough.
Mm-hmm.
But what the whole world needs now is more of that skill. And you can use that to help build a governance plan, an AI governance policy for your organization. Good chance nobody's thought to do that yet. Why don't you be the one that drives that? So, governance is another huge AI field that you can move into from L&D that bridges nicely with all the skills you already have. All right, what else do we have out here, Melissa?
Okay, I love this next question because I have the same question. How would you suggest, this is from Sylvia, how would you suggest we can highlight our growing AI skills? For example, how would you add something to a portfolio?
Yeah, Sylvia. And I'm glad you asked, because the important thing is that you do it. Let's not worry, don't worry so much about the perfect way to do it. And for example, I hope you all have LinkedIn profiles and profiles with TLDC for this conference. Put it in your profile, put it in your resume, put it in the title you use on your resume, AI enabled instructional design, for example. Oh, I'm so sorry, folks. Now you just have to wait a minute. All right. It is springtime in the desert, and our allergies are going crazy. Um, Now, how many of you have some kind of portfolio that you keep online or you provide if people want to see it? And because we get asked that a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I have a little different opinion of portfolios. Now, remember, I'm an independent consultant. Most of the work I do, it's been proprietary. Somebody paid me for that.
Mm-hmm.
And I learned early on, if I showed that, my clients weren't too happy. If I stripped it of the proprietary data, the meat of it was gone. And then it wasn't a very good thing to show. And, you know, that's also my intellectual property to the extent that I created it. So I don't do that. I know I'm bucking a trend. I know a lot of people have a portfolio. What I will say is, I'm happy to do a demonstration project. If you want to see, what I can do, I'll take a small part of what you're looking for and I will demonstrate it. Now, I've only had to do that once and I did get the contract. Most of the time, as soon as you say that, they recognize you have the confidence that you know what you're talking about and you don't, they say that's okay. So I personally, and you guys, we can disagree on this. That's fine with me. I'm sure sometimes having a portfolio has gotten you a job. Um, Honestly, I think a lot of times it's a lot of work um, to, it's a lot of work that isn't going to matter. And if anything, it's a nice ego thing for you, if that makes you feel better. Now, what I will say though, is make sure you keep samples of everything you do.
Yeah.
What those samples become for me is a template for future work. It saves me a lot of time. And you should always have examples of your work. You have a right to that. Discuss it with your employer, what's the right way to do it. But I don't necessarily publish it to the world. I don't think the world has a right to. Does that make sense? And feel free to disagree with me, but that's how I do
Yeah, I think
portfolio.
that makes sense. I used to have a portfolio, but it was like, I'm not a graphic designer. That's not my strong suit. And it was so much work for me to make it look
Yeah.
mediocre. And now I have a deck with screenshots of projects I've worked on with things blurred out so that I can show people who are interested. And it's easier to keep up and it looks nicer and it's less
Yeah.
pressure.
Yeah. So there's other ways to do it, or agree to do a like a Zoom call and
Mhm.
share your screen and say, I can't send you
Right.
this, or, but I can show it to you quickly. And that way you can target what you show to what they want to see also,
Mhm.
because you don't know how they're going to react to a portfolio that's just out there. They see one thing that, and, clip art, if you use clip art, now, of course, you don't have to. You can just have your AI generate it, but it gets out of date so fast, and that can ruin a really good design you did 3 years ago. And now it looks tired. It looks, kind of lame. So, like you said, I don't have the time to maintain something like that. So,
Yeah.
I would recommend you put your um, think more about your success stories and your case studies. Maybe make a slide deck of, and I think that's kind of what you're saying, Melissa, like case studies. I had
Mhm.
this
Exactly.
problem,
Yeah.
here's how I solved it, and just enough of a visual to give them an idea, but not the whole project. We don't owe them that, the,
Mhm.
the employers that. All right, other questions?
Carol Ann posted a suggestion that said it's a good idea to deliver a speech on AI with your peer-to-peer groups or Toastmasters clubs, for example.
Yeah, that's a great first step. And you can reach out to your Toastmasters group or your Chamber of Commerce. And I actually, when I was starting, I would offer to speak on a topic. And then when they said, yes, please do that, then I'd go and research it. So that it forced me to learn
Yeah.
because I was used to having a deadline. So instead of, oh, I'm going to learn about this, I would say, I'm going to talk about this next month. And then I had to learn it. So sometimes putting yourself in that uh, deadline kind of situation really focuses what you're going to do.
Absolutely. Yeah, actually, one of my favorite AI demos that I have that I still use is from a TLDC conference on AI. I think it's been a year and a half or 2 years now, but something a colleague of mine and I built together for this conference to show people a demo of like other. We were working on something similar for a client, but to showcase something that like the integration that we wanted to show people. And I still show it to clients and use it all the time. And
There
we
you
only
go.
built it because we had a deadline and a clear objective. It
Yeah.
helped a ton. Yeah, Sylvia's
Yeah, I had, as you probably know, I wrote a book on AI back in 2020 that is more popular now than it was when it came out. Yeah. But one of the things I said is it was possible to do personalized learning, to have a learning coach that's a little chat bot and comes up and keeps you on track. And um, I hadn't actually built one yet. I just knew it was possible. And I get this call from a guy in Italy, and he says, "Can you build that thing you described in chapter 3?" And I said, "Well, yeah, sure." And it turned out it was the United Nations. And if I had not
wow.
written the book and been willing to and brave enough to say, yes, I can do that, I wouldn't have gotten that opportunity. So I think sometimes we hold ourselves back. And that goes back to that imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
It is something unfortunate that, at least in Western culture, we women may have grown up conditioned to, uh, you know, unless you're going to be perfect, don't say you're good at it.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
especially with AI, nobody is very perfect yet. And we're all figuring it out. And if you are smart, which you all are, yeah, if you are resilient and flexible and capable of learning, you are capable of doing this. And I think that is one of the most important things is um, that we present to employers and to our current employers that we are capable and we are confident. And one huge opportunity where it's hard for them to disagree is artificial intelligence because most of them are scared of it. So that's why I chose this topic is it gives you that opportunity. It's an open door where technology in general is often not as open and welcoming to our particular gender. But now they need everybody. So if you happen to walk through the door with skills, they have to look at you. You know, that they cannot afford to be biased. There's just not enough good candidates in this field available.
That is such a great point, and I love that. Like the bar for being an AI expert is not, it's not daunting. Like it's not the same as being an economics expert or a world history expert, right? This is brand new for everyone, and so many people are
Yeah.
deterred by
So
that. But it's true with a little bit of, working on getting up to speed and learning basic skills. I think the learning curve is actually really low on this. Like you said, it's user friendly, you learn quickly. I know for me, as soon as I learn how to do something, I get excited about how easy it is to do the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. And it is a great opportunity. I love that message.
and I know we are running close on time, and um, and I do realize you may have other questions. Feel free to. I put my email up there um, in the presentation a little bit earlier. It's just Margie at learningtogo.ai. That .ai is important. It's not a .com. Um, but if you think of another question that we didn't have a chance to answer, please go ahead. And Melissa, do you have any cleaning things we need to go through before our session is over? Like surveys
Um,
or anything?
I just put Margie, I just put your email in the chat for people to get in
Thank
touch.
you.
I'd also encourage everyone to connect with Margie on LinkedIn as well. She's very responsive, or she was to my question in 2021. So I still
Yeah,
appreciate that.
that's
Um,
right.
and I think it would be great if we could continue the conversation on TLDC has an active Slack channel. I'd love to talk more with you, Margie, and with everyone about this topic and see how everyone's doing with their action plan. So check in there later. And then
Okay.
I believe the next session starts in about an hour. So hopefully we'll see a lot of you for that.
Okay, everybody. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much, Margie.
Bye.
Bye.